So first of all, number of groups we want to thank and recognize. This debate is being conducted in association with the Rhode Island Student Political Empowerment Conference, which is an annual gathering of nonpartisan college students from Rhode Island and area schools. So a lot of their students are here who are participating in that conference today, and I want to recognize Sarah De La Cerda, who's chairing the conference this year. Sarah, where are you? Sarah, back there. Thank you, Sarah. How about a thank to Dunkin' Donuts for all the coffee and donuts? We want to recognize our media partner. The moderator will introduce shortly, but golocalprov.com is our media partner where we're live streaming. So if you want to text or call anybody back home and tell them they can watch the debate live, they can just go to our website and they'll get forwarded to all the right spot. Or is it on your page too, Josh? Somewhere. So, but it's being live, but rightfreedom.org. We also are accepting audience questions on Twitter. So there's two ways you can do that. If you have a mobile device, you can see right up here, UnleashRI is the hashtag to use. If you'd like to submit a question and you don't have a Twitter device, I should use this thing. There we go. We're out in the back is Larry and Justin. Justin, where are you? We have two stations in the back, so just walk up there, tell them your questions, and they'll submit it on Twitter for you from their computers. So either way, you can either do it from your seat on your handheld or just go to the back of the room and see our guys with the shirts, and they'll submit your Twitter questions for you. I think that the event will also be archived and available online after, so you'll all be on TV. Or the internet. Okay, so the debate. The question is right here. What's really in our best interest when it comes to public policy? And I guess the core questions are we better off with a more activist government in our lives or less? Is it moral? That'll be part two of our debate. Public policies. What's the morality involved in personally and through government? If you can go next one, Justin. I want to introduce our participants who will, in the first segment, we're going to have Stephen Moore, who's a former Wall Street Journal editorial board, now chief economist with the Heritage Foundation, appears frequently on Fox News. So Steve Moore, come on up. On the other side, we have Tom Tsagoros, a local policy expert, who is a writer for rifuture.com, has contributed to Go Local Prov as well. And Tom Tsagoros, who will be in the second segment. These are our professional debaters. Rich Benjamin is a senior fellow at Demos. He appears regularly on MSNBC, and we're thrilled that he's here today, up from New York. Rich Benjamin. Don Watkins, he's from the Ayn Rand Institute, and he'll be taking part in the second segment of our debate. Don Watkins. Now, one of the unique features of this debate is we're having some students in the first segment debate alongside the professionals here, and that should be fun. So joining Tom is Samuel Bell. Samuel is now a graduate student at Brown University, and he is the state coordinator for the Progressive Democrats of America. Samuel Bell. And joining Steve, also a Brown University undergrad, and he is the chairman of the Rhode Island Federation of College Republicans, and that's Justin Braga. I'll save our moderator for last and let him take it away. Also, we have Justin Katz from our research team operating the slides, and he'll be feeding the Twitter questions to our moderator. You know me and our moderator, what I'll turn it over to in just a second. From Go Local Prov, he's the founder and CEO of Go Local Prov, Josh Fenton. This is the state of the state, or one view of the state, and I want to say a disclaimer. This is not everybody's view of what our state is, but it's what we decided we want to debate today. This does not represent any panelist view, but these are just some facts. I'm not going to go through each one. The chart on the right just shows you really, you can see the other ones for yourself, but this chart shows you that compared to peak employment levels prior to the recession, Rhode Island is worst in terms of recovering jobs as compared to pre-peak. So the question is, what are we doing wrong? Why? The core of what this debate is all about. And that's what we want to talk. We want to ask the panelists to make sure we try to relate everything back into creating jobs, because jobs is what we think we need in this state. So the first segment we're going to talk about is the economics of public policy. And there'll be two subsegments within here. First, policy philosophy, and then we'll discuss some specific ideas. At the top are the core questions that the moderator will lead you through. In the middle are the topics we want to apply those questions to. And on the left and the right are just some generic views that don't represent any panelists up here. They just views from the left or right that to throw in to give you something to think about. So let's get the debate underway, and let me turn it over to Josh Fenton.
Obviously want to thank Mike for putting all the hard work together to get a really outstanding discussion going. Too often, obviously, in Rhode Island, different viewpoints don't come together and get around a table and start hashing things out. So great kudos to the panelists and to Mike for doing all the hard work to bring folks together. This morning, we really want to start with hearing some really interesting folks talk about this, and I think the question is, you know, obviously Rhode Island's economy's in a bit of a funk. Unemployment's high. The economy's not functioning particularly well. It's not recovering as other parts of the country are proceeding. And want to ask each of the four of you, I'm going to start with Stephen on the far right, to give an opening statement.
I'm not on the far right.
Touche. To give an opening statement and frame the discussion a little bit from your perspective. So Stephen, please start.
Thanks, Josh, and thank you to the Freedom Foundation for putting this together, and thank you all. I mean, I know that you all have very busy lives, and there are a lot of other things you could be doing on a Saturday, so it's fantastic that so many of you care enough about your great state of Rhode Island that you're here. So appreciate your turning out for this important event about what we can do to improve Rhode Island. I had such a great, when I took the train from Boston yesterday and got into town, I just had the nicest reception. I was walking down the train terminal, and this little old lady saw me. She threw her arms around me. She was so excited. She said, "I know you, don't I?" And I said, "Ma'am, I don't know." She said, "I'm sure I've seen you on TV somewhere." And I said, "Well, I'm not sure, ma'am." I said, "What do you watch?" And that kind of puzzled her. She was so endearing. She said, "Wait a minute," she said, "didn't I see you on Wheel of Fortune last week?" And yes, ma'am, that was me. So that was a nice introduction to being in Rhode Island. Look, let me make a couple very quick points. Our national economy isn't doing so hot either. Rhode Island's, you know, as you just saw from some of these statistics, is a lagging state, but in the country as a whole, we've had a really subpar recovery. This has been the worst recovery from recession that we've had since the Great Depression. Something's going terribly wrong in this country with respect to our economic policies, and so we have to fix what's wrong in Washington, and we have to fix what's wrong in Rhode Island. By the way, I love this state. I come here every summer to vacation. It has so many assets. There's no reason that Rhode Island should be such a poor performing state. In fact, if you go back 50 years ago, Rhode Island was one of the three richest states in the country. One of the three richest states in the country. You have to ask the question, what's gone wrong over the last 40 or 50 years to move this state to one of the most prosperous places on the globe, you know, almost literally the Hong Kong of North America, to now a state that has high unemployment, has declining income, and just not enough jobs for the citizens of this great state. One of the things that you all ought to think about in terms of why getting growth back is so important, one of the things that concerns me as I look at these statistics about what's happening in Rhode Island is what it is doing to families and the legacy of this state. And what we found is that there's been a kind of hollowing out of the young people in the state. Now, when you ask the question, who's leaving? Who's leaving Rhode Island? I mean, look in the audience here. I mean, you know, we're you know, a lot of people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. You know, the young people have to leave Rhode Island because there are not enough jobs, and that is a tragedy because it means your problems are actually going to intensify in the next 10 or 20, 30 years. You know you've got a problem with your pensions and paying, paying your bills in this state. And if you don't have the young workers, I mean, everybody in this room probably knows a young college graduate. You've invested so much human capital in these people who have had to leave the state. We'll talk about what some of the solutions are, but I want to give you one statistic hot off the press, and then I'll turn it over to the other side, just to give you a sense of the direction that Rhode Island is going. There were new statistics that just came out literally on Tuesday, so just this week from the IRS, which tracks these are actual tax return data for every one of the 50 states. And what the data showed for this latest year, 2012, so this was the change from 2011 to 2012, is that Rhode Island had the third largest decline in the number of people who filed a tax return. And they also had the third, when you look at people coming into the state and people leaving the state, guess what? Only 2 states did worse than Rhode Island. One of them was New York, and the other was my home state of Illinois. And there's something wrong in Rhode Island. What this means, if we don't turn this around, you're going to see a gradual reduction over time of this state. I'll just kind of give you a kind of preview of, I think, the case that we're going to make, which is, look, it's not that hard to turn around the state. If you just turn those dials, those policy dials that are so turned in the direction of anti-growth, and move them more in a growth direction, you will see businesses moving back into the state. You will see jobs coming back. I mean, it can happen really, really quickly. And so I'm an optimist about this state. And I think the fact that there are so many people here today that care about this state, you know what needs to be done. And I think it's a hard case to make, by the way. It's a hard case to make that the problem with Rhode Island is it's not liberal enough. Right? I mean, that's kind of a hard case to make, given the fact that this is the second or third most liberal state in the country. Why don't we try some free enterprise solutions to dealing with the problem? I mean, why don't we try something new in Rhode Island? Thank you.
Stephen, thank you.